Ma'am, this lounge is for platinum members only. Economy is downstairs. The sentence hits the marble like a dropped tray, sharp, public, meant to stick. Heads tilt. Screen stops scrolling. Somewhere in the room, a spoon touches porcelain and the tiny chime sounds like a verdict. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Dr. Amara Lewis. The camera widens. Heathrow breathes in tears, fast lanes and slow faces, red ropes and quiet rooms where coffee tastes like secrets. Glass walls glitter with moving reflections, flight numbers, weather over Madrid, a child's hand pressed to a window, a suit pacing a call about margins. Airports are temples of order. They also keep a quiet ledger of who gets to belong. Amara stands just inside the threshold. No logo bag, no trophy watch. Black coat, clean lines, laptop sleeve tucked against her ribs like a dossier. Her hair is pulled back without ceremony. Light from the gate display washes her jaw in a cold blue, not jewelry, proof. She doesn't flinch. Her breath is steady, the kind you learn in rooms where other people think they own the air. The receptionist's smile never touches her eyes. She taps the desk, a metronome of policy. Membership card? The question isn't a question. It's a broom sweeping her toward the stairs. Amara sets the sleeve on the counter. A single card slides out, matte, unadorned. The chip winks once under the sensor light. The screen blinks, hesitates as if deciding what story to tell about her. The hesitation is familiar. It has lived in banks, showrooms, hotel lobbies. A tiny pause that says, "Explain yourself." She doesn't. She watches. Behind the desk, a supervisor in a silver tie clocks the scene. His gaze travels like a scanner from boots to collarbone, halting not on the card but on the person holding it. The sound design narrows. HVAC hum, heel clicks, the rubbery sigh of suitcase wheels. Someone coughs. A news channel whispers from a muted television storms over the Atlantic. Delays. Pressure systems pushing weather where it isn't wanted. Platinum only. The receptionist repeats. Louder this time, like amplification equals truth. Amara's eyes drift past the desk to the laminated plaque on the wall powered by Skylink systems. The font is modest, the kind that expects respect instead of asking for it. Skylink is her company. 12% of the airline sits in her portfolio. 18 carriers run on her code. The lounge printer behind the desk runs on her code. The irony lands soft and heavy like snow. She could say it. She doesn't. A family in matching hoodies shuffles by, and the child with the window hand turns to stare at Amara, as if sensing the pitch of the room has shifted. The supervisor steps closer. "Madam, this area is restricted." The word restricted carries the weight of somewhere else. Kitchens with swinging doors, rope lines, velvet, 100 other quiet ways of saying not you. Amara slides the card back into the sleeve without hurry. Time is a tool. So is silence. She is fluent in both. Her phone vibrates once inside the coat. A calendar badge glows board sync, 14:30. Another nudge. Sterling divided by ops, a name with old money edges and colder manners. She dismisses both with a thumb. Not yet. Sound cue. The soft elevator ping from across the hall. 2 men in corporate navy step out, talking in low numbers. Shares, uplift, seat maps. One recognizes Amara without recognizing her, the human brain doing its math, and then discarding the result because the packaging doesn't fit. He smiles right through her, a ghosting politeness. Downstairs, the receptionist says again, a third beat, the rhythm of dismissal. The supervisor's finger hovers near a call button labeled security. It's supposed to be discreet. It never is. Amara turns her head, not all the way, just enough that the distance becomes a statement. "Your scanner stalled," she says, even, factual, not my membership. The receptionist blinks. The monitor refreshes. A thin bar crawls like a fused zipper. The cursor flickers over a list protected by a tiny red lock icon. The supervisor leans in, reads a line he pretends not to see, and straightens like he didn't. He pivots to the safer ground of attitude. We've had incidents impersonators trying to access this space. Impersonators. The syllables are soft. The cut is not. He reaches for the phone. Click. The kind of click that calls uniforms, not apologies. Amara's hand tightens around the sleeve, knuckles pale under brown skin. That old heat climbs her chest, not rage, something colder, older, a record replaying. She breathes once, longer than the room expects, and the room has to match it. Across the lounge, a barista pauses mid-pour. Foam settles. The world steadies on her count. She checks the time, not the watch face the internet loves, but the minimal dial she prefers, black, precise, unshowy. A second hand sweeps, patient. 12 minutes is an ocean in an airport. You can drown someone in it without raising your voice. Her phone lifts to her ear. Not high, not performative. A small tilt, a private corridor. The lens slides along the bevel of the device, catching a thin halo of gate light. Hold. The supervisor says to no one and everyone practicing power. Amara speaks softly, as if ordering tea. Eli. A male voice answers at once, warm and efficient. On. They're running a story I don't recognize, she says. Copy, Eli replies. Do you want me to tell the system who you are? Amara looks at the plaque again, powered by Skylink Systems. Her reflection sits faintly inside the letters. No, she says. I want the system to tell them who they are. She ends the call before the room can decide what that means. The receptionist clears her throat, trying to reclaim momentum. Madam, please. Amara sets the laptop sleeve back on the counter, a gentle tap that lands like a gavel. Not loud. Final. Outside the glass, a plane drifts past nose first, slow as a thought turning into a decision. Inside, the supervisor's finger lowers from the security button without quite touching it. He can feel the air change, not colder, cleaner. Hierarchies are funny things. When you breathe the same air long enough, you forget it belongs to everyone. Try the scan again, Amara says. The receptionist hesitates, then places the card under the light. The sensor chirps. The screen blinks. A new window opens, not the public interface, the one behind it. Lines populate. A name appears, small and unignorable. Lewis, Amara Executive divided by shareholder. The supervisor's throat clicks. He lifts his eyes and finally sees the person he's been addressing. The room has not moved, but the distances have. She doesn't smile. She doesn't glare. She lets the space learn. Cut to black on the sound of the scanner's chime. Hold for half a second longer than comfortable. Then the score returns. One low note under the hum of Heathrow, steady as a heartbeat that isn't speeding up for anyone. The air in the lounge grows heavier, like a curtain refusing to lift. The supervisor's voice cuts through the quiet. Madam, this section is reserved for Platinum members only. I am going to have to ask you to step back behind the line. Amara does not move. Her tone is calm, almost gentle. I already presented my credentials. Cray. He looks at her again, that long calculating stare used by people who believe they are the border guards of comfort. The silence between them becomes performance. Behind her, a few passengers pretend not to watch, but their reflections in the glass betray them. Security will verify your access, the man says, hand hovering above the phone receiver. His words are polite, but the phrasing is meant to remind her she has entered a space that does not expect her face. The receptionist shifts in discomfort. Sir, maybe the system... He cuts her off. The system is fine. Some people always find a way to trick it. That sentence lands louder than any shout. Amara hears it the way a surgeon hears the flatline tone of a monitor. She lets it hang in the air, refusing to rescue him from his own prejudice. Every second he waits for her to react adds weight to his mistake. Finally, she says, You believe what the system tells you, but only when it suits your bias. Her voice is low, deliberate, measured. The supervisor's jaw tightens. Ma'am, I'm just following procedure. Amara replies, that sentence has excused more harm than any weapon. Her words are not loud, but they travel. A businessman nearby lowers his newspaper. A flight attendant crossing the lounge slows her step. The receptionist looks trapped between rules and conscience. Her hands tremble slightly as she straightens the stack of entry forms. Amara notices and softens her tone. It is all right, she says quietly, not to be kind, but to be clear. I am used to this. Used to this. The phrase drops like a confession no one asked for. The supervisor shifts again, realizing that his attempt at authority has turned into exposure. He clears his throat. If you could just wait over there, we will sort this out. Amara's eyes remain steady. There is nothing to sort out. Her phone buzzes once in her coat pocket, a vibration she ignores. 12 minutes. That is how long it takes for a simple act of doubt to turn into a public display of hierarchy. Someone whispers near the espresso counter, she is calm, though. Too calm. Calmness in rooms like this is mistaken for weakness. But Amara's calm is the quiet right before a system audit. She takes one step forward, crossing the invisible line the supervisor drew with his tone. No security appears. No alarm sounds. Only that persistent hum of fluorescent lights and the faint hiss of the coffee machine steaming milk. Amara stops at the counter again and places her hand flat on the marble surface. It is the same gesture she used years ago to steady herself in another line at another airport when an agent questioned her ticket because her name sounded foreign. Back then, she had swallowed the humiliation. Today, she lets it surface, but she does not drown in it. Your procedure, she says softly, is flawed. He opens his mouth to argue, but nothing arrives. Because somewhere deep in the terminal system, the protocol she helped design is already identifying her as priority access. A single notification flashes on the receptionist's screen. Welcome, Executive Lewis. She stares, wide-eyed, then looks up at Amara as if the entire airport has just shifted an inch to the left. Amara does not smile. She simply says, now you can proceed. Quote. The supervisor swallows hard. He knows something has gone wrong, but he cannot yet name it. The hum of the air conditioner fills the silence, sounding almost like applause that no one dares to start. Amara turns slightly, enough for the camera of any bystander to catch the moment her posture reclaims the room. Not triumph, not revenge. Just the correction of a narrative that never should have been written that way. The sound of keys clicking on the lounge computer replaces the hum of conversation. The receptionist leans closer to the screen, whispering to herself, reading lines she does not fully understand. The supervisor's face tightens, color draining as the display refreshes again. The line executive shareholder. Amara Lewis now glows in quiet confirmation. He steps back, but pride will not let him apologize. He mutters, that could be a system error. It happens. His tone is softer, but the damage has already landed. Amara says nothing. She glances at the lounge clock above the espresso counter. Time has become her silent witness. In her world, 12 minutes are never wasted. 12 minutes can restructure a meeting, redirect an algorithm, or expose a bias that had always been there. The difference between silence and statement is only timing. The receptionist finally speaks, her voice trembling but honest. Dr. Lewis, I am sorry for the delay. Your access is confirmed. Would you like a seat by the window? Amara nods once, still composed. She does not reach for gratitude. She reaches for grace. Thank you, she replies evenly. Please continue with your work. As she walks through the glass doors, the murmur of travelers rises again. The soundscape shifts back to life. Luggage wheels, coffee cups, airport announcements. But every person who watched that exchange now carries a quiet discomfort. Inside the lounge, the temperature feels different. It is not the air that changed, it is awareness. Amara chooses a seat near the far corner, not the center. Her posture remains upright, her eyes scanning the space. Every gesture she makes is measured, efficient. She opens her laptop, the screen reflecting her calm expression. She is not there to rest. She is observing. Behind the counter, the supervisor speaks in low tones to another employee. He gestures discreetly toward her. "Make sure she is not recording," he says under his breath. "We do not need another complaint online." But she is not recording. She does not need to. People remember their own shame far longer than her camera ever could. Her phone vibrates again. This time she answers. "Yes," she says softly. A voice responds, smooth and controlled. "Dr. Lewis, the airline board meeting is still at 14:30. Do you need to reschedule?" She glances toward the same men from earlier, the ones in corporate Navy suits, still discussing market shares. "No," she says. "Let it proceed." The voice pauses. "Do you want me to inform them about the incident?" Amara's lips curve slightly, not quite a smile. "Not yet. Let the system speak first." She ends the call. From her seat, she watches the rhythm of the lounge like an analyst studying a live experiment. The space is a living chart of hierarchy. Who gets greeted, who gets ignored, who gets extra sugar in their coffee. Every gesture, every word exposes a data point in human behavior. A waiter approaches carefully, holding a silver tray. "Can I get you anything to drink, madam?" Her eyes stay on her screen. Water, sparkling, room temperature. "Yes, madam." He hesitates for a moment, then adds, "And I apologize for what happened earlier." Amara looks up for the first time. Her tone is not cruel, it is precise. "You are not responsible for your supervisor's choices," she says. "But remember them. You will learn more from his mistake than he ever will." The waiter nods quickly and walks away. The background hum of the airport continues. The world outside her glass wall moves fast, boarding gates opening and closing like chapters. Yet inside, time has slowed to her command. Amara sips her water when it arrives. The glass trembles slightly from the vibration of a nearby plane engine. She places it down gently, like a punctuation mark. Her eyes drift toward the lounge entrance. The supervisor is still there, watching, pretending to manage other guests. He cannot admit it, but he feels the shift. His authority now bends around her presence, invisible but absolute. Amara opens her email, scrolling past data reports, investor memos, and flight briefs. One message glows unread from the airline's operations director. Urgent, clarification on access protocol errors. She leans back, exhaling slowly. The system is already correcting itself, just as she knew it would. It always does. Because Amara Lewis does not raise her voice, she raises the standard. The lounge has returned to its routine rhythm, but the atmosphere is still charged with a quiet unease. The staff members are moving a little faster, their smiles a little tighter. People avoid making eye contact with Amara, as if looking at her would remind them of what just happened. The supervisor, Harold Kent, stands near the entry gate pretending to check the reservation tablet. His composure is back, but only on the surface. Every few seconds, his eyes drift toward Amara's table. She is calm, focused, and that calmness threatens him more than confrontation ever could. He leans over the counter and murmurs to the receptionist. "You saw that, right? There must be a glitch. No one just walks in here and claims to be an executive shareholder." The receptionist keeps her voice low. "Sir, her profile is confirmed in the system. It even matched the corporate ID database." He waves his hand impatiently. "Those integrations are full of bugs. I am going to double-check with headquarters." He walks toward the staff phone at the corner, the line that connects directly to airline operations. His tone is steady but defensive. "Yes, this is Harold Kent, Heathrow Lounge supervisor. I need verification on an account that popped up under executive shareholder status. Name is Amara Lewis. I just need to confirm that this is not an impersonation." He waits, eyes flicking between the phone and Amara. From across the room, she senses the motion. She does not need to hear him to know what he is doing. The pattern never changes. Doubt, justify, repeat. When the operator responds, Harold's shoulders tight. His face freezes mid-sentence. Yes? Confirmed? Executive shareholder? Are you sure? He forces a laugh that does not reach his eyes. Well, that is unusual. All right, thank you. He hangs up slowly, aware that every move now feels recorded even if no one is filming. Amara closes her laptop and looks up. Their eyes meet for the first time since the confrontation. It is not anger that he sees there. It is precision. She does not have to speak to make him realize that she has been 3 steps ahead of him since the moment she walked in. The room shifts again. The barista whispers something to the waiter, and both glance toward the supervisor. The receptionist lowers her head, suddenly absorbed in paperwork. Amara stands, smoothing her coat. The sound of her chair sliding back is soft but deliberate. She walks to the refreshment counter and places her empty glass down. "Thank you for the service," she says to the barista, her tone professional, unbothered. The barista nods nervously. "Of course, madam. Would you like a refill?" "No, I have everything I need." She turns slightly, just enough so her voice carries across the space. It is fascinating how technology can reveal truth faster than people can accept it. The words hang in the air. A few heads lift. The supervisor stiffens but stays silent. At that moment, a young employee steps into the lounge carrying a tablet. Her badge reads Ella Thompson, Operations Support. She looks unsure, caught between curiosity and duty. She approaches the counter, whispering to the receptionist. There was an alert from corporate. They requested immediate verification of Dr. Lewis's visit. They said not to interfere further. The receptionist nods quickly. She is seated right there. Ella's eyes follow the direction. When she sees Amara, recognition sparks. She whispers, "I have seen her name on the internal donors list. She funds our education grants." Harold hears it and interrupts sharply. "Miss Thompson, this is not your concern. Please return to your department." Ella hesitates. "Sir, I was just—" "Now," he says, voice rising just enough for everyone to hear. Amara watches without a word. She recognizes the dynamic instantly. The same system that disrespected her is now silencing someone who tried to speak truth. She steps closer, her presence cooling the heat in Harold's tone. "She is not wrong," Amara says evenly. "You should listen to her." Harold forces a professional smile. "Of course, madam, but this is a private matter between staff." Amara's reply is calm but final. Every matter becomes public when dignity is involved. The silence that follows feels like a verdict. Ella stands frozen, caught between fear and relief. The other staff members exchange glances, understanding that the balance in this room has shifted again, and this time it will not swing back. Amara returns to her seat. The announcement system above hums softly, calling passengers to other gates, as if the airport itself is pretending not to witness what just happened. For the first time since her arrival, Amara allows herself a breath of satisfaction, not pride, but validation. Systems resist correction until they are forced to see themselves. And today, she has made this one look directly into its reflection. The clock on the lounge wall ticks forward by 1 minute. 11 more remain. The atmosphere in the lounge changes again, subtle but undeniable. The tension has found its rhythm, like background noise that refuses to fade. People continue sipping coffee, scrolling phones, pretending not to notice, but every conversation drifts towards silence when Amara moves. Ella Thompson still stands near the counter, holding her tablet tight against her chest. Her supervisor's order to leave is still echoing in her ears, but something inside her refuses to step away. Her voice is quiet, almost trembling, yet clear. "Sir, with all respect, Dr. Lewis's name is not just in the system. She is listed as one of the company's principal donors. Her foundation funds the very leadership program that paid for my training." Quote. Her honesty lands like a dropped glass in a silent hall. Harold freezes. The receptionist's pen slips from her hand and clatters onto the floor. Amara looks up, her expression unreadable. She does not intervene yet. She lets the moment breathe. She wants the truth to find its own voice before she adds hers. Harold recovers his tone, but not his authority. Miss Thompson, that is confidential information. You are not permitted to disclose internal records to guests. Quote, Ella swallows hard, yet she stands her ground. I am not disclosing secrets, sir. I am correcting an insult. For a second, it feels like the entire lounge has stopped breathing. Even the espresso machine seems to pause mid-hiss. Harold's jaw tightens. You are one word away from suspension. Amara finally speaks. If she is suspended for speaking truth, then the policy itself is the problem. Her voice is calm but carries across the room with perfect control. It is not volume that commands attention. It is certainty. Harold glances around, realizing how many eyes are now on him. He lowers his tone, trying to recover professionalism. Dr. Lewis, I assure you, there was never an intention to offend. These are procedural misunderstandings. Amara replies, Every bias hides behind a procedure. That is how it survives. The line slices through his defense. A few passengers shift uncomfortably. The receptionist looks at Ella, then at Amara, her face full of silent agreement she cannot express. Amara turns toward Ella. What is your position, Miss Thompson? Operations support, madam, she says softly. Amara nods. Then your support should be recognized. Courage is the first step in operations worth building. Ella's eyes widen. The words land somewhere deep inside her where exhaustion from being unseen had lived for years. Amara turns back to her laptop and opens an internal portal. The faint glow from the screen lights her face. She types a single command into the company network. Within seconds, an alert appears on Harold's terminal. Executive oversight. Immediate compliance review initiated. He stares at it, unable to process what just happened. What is this? Amara does not look up. The system you doubted works faster than you expect. You wanted confirmation. It is confirming. The receptionist whispers, Sir, it is requesting your manager's credentials. Harold's voice shakes slightly. That is not possible. Only corporate security can trigger that. Amara's tone remains level. Corporate security did not. I did. He takes a step back, color returning to his face in a wash of disbelief. Ella lowers her tablet slowly, watching the exchange unfold. She realizes she has just witnessed something she will remember for the rest of her life, not just a moment of power, but of composure. Amara closes her laptop softly. Miss Thompson, thank you for standing up when it mattered. Most people wait for permission. You did not. Ella nods, barely able to speak. I only said what was right. That is all integrity ever is, Amara says, a sentence spoken at the right time. The supervisor starts to stammer an apology. Dr. Lewis, She raises her hand, not to silence him, but to end the scene. Enough. Let the system finish what it started. The sound of the terminal's printer begins to whir. A small slip of paper emerges. The receptionist hesitates, then reads it aloud. Authorization change detected. Lounge oversight reassigned to corporate review pending executive confirmation. Every staff member understands what that means. Harold Kent has just lost control of the lounge. He stands there, eyes darting between the paper, the screen, and the woman who never once raised her voice. Amara looks at her watch. 7 minutes remain. Harold Kent's pride refuses to surrender, even as the printer's message lies in plain sight. His fingers twitch near the edge of the counter. For a man who has always ruled a small space with unspoken power, losing control feels like free fall. Dr. Lewis, he says, forcing steadiness, you must understand how this looks from my side. People impersonate executives all the time. I was only protecting company property. Amara folds her hands, resting them lightly on the table. You were not protecting the company. You were protecting your comfort. The sentence lands clean and cold. Harold's throat tightens. That is unfair, he says, voice breaking its practiced calm. I have worked here for 15 years. Amara's tone remains even. Then 15 years should have taught you the difference between procedure and prejudice. Quote, He takes a step forward. The air shifts. Ella instinctively moves closer to the counter, her instincts whispering caution. The other employees stand still, unsure whether to intervene or watch history rearrange itself in real time. Harold lowers his voice, trying to reclaim dignity. You can file a report if you wish, but raising this to corporate will only create noise. Everyone makes mistakes. Amara looks up at him fully now. Some mistakes echo louder than the people who made them, and some silence is more dangerous than any noise. He cannot hold her gaze. His hand moves toward the small radio pinned to his belt. Security. This is Lounge Supervisor Kent. He says quietly, please come to the Platinum area for verification. The line crackles, confirming his request. The receptionist whispers, sir, please do not, but it is too late. Within moments, 2 uniformed guards appear at the doorway. Their expressions are neutral, but their presence thickens the air. One of them speaks with professional caution. Is there a problem here? Harold gestures toward Amara. This guest may be misusing corporate credentials. I am requesting confirmation. Amara rises slowly. The motion is deliberate, almost ceremonial. Her height matches Harold's, but her stillness makes her presence larger. You are escalating a misunderstanding into a spectacle, she says softly. The younger guard glances at the receptionist. Is this true? He asks. The receptionist hesitates. Her voice is thin but sincere. No, it is not. She is authorized. She is Dr. Amara Lewis. Harold snaps. Stay out of this. The sudden sharpness of his voice cracks the thin veneer of professionalism that has held the room together. The guards exchange glances. Everyone senses that something irreversible has just occurred. Amara's expression does not change. She looks at the guards, not the man shouting. You can stand down. This will not take long. Quote. But then Harold makes the final mistake. He reaches out, his hand landing lightly on Amara's forearm as if to steer her away from the scene. The touch is not violent, but it is invasive, a reflex born from entitlement, not authority. The room freezes. The guards stiffen. Ella gasps softly. Amara looks down at his hand. She does not pull away. She lets the silence sharpen around the contact until even Harold realizes the gravity of it. Then she speaks, her tone low and measured. Do not touch what you do not understand. He jerks his hand back as if burned. She turns slightly toward the guards. Please note the physical contact for your report. This will now move beyond local procedure. The older guard nods immediately. Understood, Doctor. He already senses the hierarchy in front of him has changed. Amara takes a slow breath. For a second, her gaze drifts past the room to somewhere much earlier, a memory of another airport, another uniform, another hand stopping her path. She had been 26, traveling to a conference that would change her career. The agent that day had smiled too widely when questioning her name, pretending courtesy while performing suspicion. That memory had been sealed for years, archived in the quiet corners of her mind. But today, it replays in perfect clarity. The same script, the same tone, only the setting has grown more expensive. Amara's focus returns to the present. You just repeated a scene this company promised to erase from its culture, she says to Harold. Now it will be reviewed on record. Harold's lips tremble. You are overreacting. Amara answers, no, I am recording accuracy. She opens her phone and presses a single contact labeled Eli, Operations Control. The call connects instantly. Dr. Lewis, the voice greets, calm and ready. Eli, she says evenly, we have reached the escalation point. Understood. Do you require the shareholder protocol? Amara glances around the room, the employees, the guards, the onlookers frozen in quiet disbelief. Then she answers, yes. Activate it now. A faint chime from the airport's internal network echoes through the lounge speakers, subtle but distinct. Systems respond faster than people. Harold looks around, unsure whether to defend himself or run. Amara sits back down, voice still calm. I did not raise my voice, she says softly, mostly to herself. I simply let the truth raise itself. The guards step aside. The printer near the counter beeps again. Another message begins to emerge, one that will erase every argument Harold Kent has left. The breaking point has arrived, and she never even had to stand up for it. The faint chime from the airport network spreads like a ripple through the lounge. It is not loud, but it cuts through every whisper and every heartbeat. The staff glance around, confused. The system has never made that sound before. Amara's phone screen lights up with a single message. Shareholder protocol initiated. She places it on the table, screen facing upward, letting the glow speak for her. Harold stares at it as if it were a detonator. What does that even mean? He demands, his voice cracking slightly. Amara replies with calm precision. It means the company's chain of command has been alerted to a breach of policy regarding executive treatment. It also means your next supervisor will not need an introduction. Her tone is steady, but her presence fills the entire room. She does not raise her head high. She simply exists in a way that redefines the air. The younger security guard steps forward cautiously. Doctor? Lewis, do you need us to remain on site? Amara shakes her head. You have done your part. Please return to your post. The guard nods and leaves without argument. The other one follows. Neither wants to stand between her and whatever comes next. The receptionist's computer pings. A new line of text scrolls across the screen. Incoming call from corporate oversight. Priority level 1. Her eyes widen. Sir, she whispers to Harold. They are calling directly. Harold's palms sweat. He forces a shallow laugh. Fine, I will explain the misunderstanding. He picks up the receiver. His tone turns overly polite. Yes, this is Harold Kent at Heathrow Platinum Lounge. Yes, the situation is under control. Yes, I am speaking with the guest now. A pause. His expression shifts. Color drains from his face. Yes, I understand. His voice falls to a whisper. No, sir, I was not aware of her full position. I see. Yes, I will cooperate. He lowers the phone, hands trembling slightly. Amara looks at him, her expression neutral but unflinching. Did they clarify who I am? Harold nods, his voice hoarse. Executive shareholder, board liaison, oversight authority. He swallows hard. They also said you designed the operational framework we use in every international terminal. Amara's gaze stays steady. That is correct. And that framework includes protocols for ethics, training, and accountability. I wrote them so no employee would ever experience what I experienced 10 years ago. Yet here we are. The silence that follows is thick. Everyone in the lounge can hear it, even those pretending to read newspapers. She picks up her phone again and speaks softly. Eli. The same calm voice answers immediately. Protocol is live, Doctor. The oversight team is logged in and observing through internal channels. Do you want the report archived publicly? Amara glances toward Ella, the young employee who dared to speak earlier. Yes, she says. Archive it and make a copy available to staff training departments. I want this used as a learning sequence, not a punishment. Understood? Eli replies. Harold's knees seem to soften. You are not going to fire me? He asks quietly. Amara's eyes are firm but not cruel. Discipline is not always dismissal. Some lessons are heavier when you must live with them. She stands, adjusting her coat. The motion is quiet, but it feels like the room exhales at her command. However, effective immediately, you are relieved of operational authority. Corporate will assign a review manager within the hour. Until then, this facility answers directly to me. No one questions her. Even the ambient noise of the airport seems to pause out of respect. Ella approaches hesitantly. Doctor, Lewis, she says softly, thank you for what you said earlier. No one has ever stood up for us like that. Amara meets her eyes. I did not stand up. I stayed steady. There is a difference. Standing up is a reaction. Staying steady is a decision. Ella nods, the words landing deeply. Amara picks up her laptop sleeve and walks to the center of the lounge. The reflection from the glass wall outlines her like a silhouette of authority. Everyone here just witnessed how small assumptions can become structural damage. You saw a system try to protect itself from correction, and you saw how quickly it folds when faced with truth. She turns toward the receptionist. You handled yourself with composure. Document everything accurately. Your honesty will be noted. The receptionist nods, grateful but speechless. Amara glances at Harold one last time. You said earlier you were protecting the company you were not. You were protecting a story that never belonged to you. That story ends now. She checks the lounge clock. 6 minutes remain. Her phone vibrates once more. A text from Eli appears. Confirmation. Protocol registered across all terminals. System integrity restored. Amara slips the phone into her coat pocket and takes a slow breath. The hardest part is not confrontation. It is restraint. The room stays quiet, waiting for her next move. When she finally speaks, her voice is almost a whisper. Justice does not rush. It arrives on schedule. The quiet inside the lounge is not peace. It is pressure contained. Every sound now feels exaggerated, the shuffle of papers, the hiss of the espresso machine, the faint rhythm of rain against the glass wall. Everyone in the room senses that something larger than a personal dispute is about to unfold. Amara stands near the counter, her phone still in hand, her voice steady as she speaks into it. Eli, proceed to stage 2. A brief pause follows, then the voice on the line replies, confirmed. System acknowledgement in 3, 2, 1. The lights flicker once, and then the overhead speakers crackle softly. A calm, automated voice fills the space. Attention. Executive shareholder and systems founder Dr. Amara Lewis is currently on site. All staff operations are to pause for verification under the Skylink Integrity Protocol. The announcement travels across the room like a slow wave of realization. Heads lift. Conversations stop. Even the security guards outside the door step back in confusion. The same system that Harold trusted to defend him has now spoken against him. Harold's eyes widen, disbelief breaking across his face. That cannot be real, he says, almost to himself. Amara looks at him, her expression composed. You wanted verification. You have it. The receptionist stares at the screen on her desk. Sir, it is showing authorization code level 1. That is board access. Only corporate executives have that clearance. Harold takes a step back, his voice trembles. Level 1? That does not make sense. Amara replies, it makes perfect sense. You are only surprised because the person holding that clearance does not fit your expectation. Her phone vibrates again. She reads the message silently, then looks around the lounge. This location has been placed under corporate observation for training review. Every word and every decision made in the last 12 minutes is now stored in the compliance archive. The staff exchange nervous glances. No one dares to speak. Amara turns her attention back to Harold. Do you understand what this means? He nods weakly. It means my actions are recorded. Quote, it means, Amara corrects gently, that behavior once hidden by policy is now visible to everyone who has ever been dismissed the same way. The words hang in the air. The receptionist lowers her head, unable to meet her gaze. Ella stands still, awe mixing with a quiet pride. The loudspeaker continues, this time with a new message. Attention. Immediate review initiated. Local management authority suspended pending executive review. All communications rerouted through Skylink oversight. Quote, the supervisor's name flashes in red on the screen. Access revoked. Harold Kent. The sound that follows is faint but final, the soft click of a locked account. Harold's badge light dims to gray. The symbol of control that once granted him access has now rejected him completely. He stares at the screen as if it has betrayed him. Dr. Lewis, please. I did not mean... Amara stops him with a quiet hand gesture. Intention is the language of those who never face consequence. Impact is what matters here. Her tone is measured, but it carries the weight of authority born from experience. When you question someone's legitimacy, you are not protecting standards. You are defining who is allowed to exist within them. Ella steps closer, voice careful but strong. "Doctor, will the review affect all of us?" Amara looks at her with warmth. "It will protect the ones who chose truth over silence." The receptionist exhales in relief. The air in the room shifts again, no longer heavy with tension but lighter, like a window opening after a storm. Amara turns back to Harold, her voice even. "You will have an opportunity to explain your conduct during corporate review. Use it to understand, not to defend." He nods faintly. "Yes, doctor." She walks toward the center of the lounge, stopping near the plaque on the wall. The metal letters glint under the soft light. Powered by Skylink systems. She traces the edge of the logo with her fingertip, the same one that had once been dismissed as unimportant by men like Harold. "Interesting," she says softly, half to herself. "How something can carry your name and still not recognize you." The employees watch as she turns back toward them. "From this moment, this lounge operates under direct executive oversight. You will treat every guest as though they carry unseen power because they do. Dignity is not a status, it is a right." Quote. Ella nods, her expression firm. The receptionist stands straighter. Even the guests who have said nothing feel the weight of her words. The overhead speakers chime once more, a single tone signaling the end of the protocol. Silence follows, but it is no longer the silence of fear. It is the silence of realization. Amara glances at the clock. 5 minutes remain. She smiles faintly, not out of triumph, but recognition. Justice, as she once wrote in a speech long forgotten, is not about punishment. It is about correction. And today, correction has arrived right on time. The sound of the final chime still lingers as if the entire airport is holding its breath. For a brief moment, no one moves. The lounge that once pulsed with quiet arrogance now feels stripped bare, exposed to its own reflection. The authority that once belonged to Harold Kent has dissolved completely, and everyone in the room knows it. A notification tone echoes from the receptionist's computer. She glances at the screen, eyes widening. "Corporate review in progress," she whispers. "Dr. Lewis, the oversight board has logged into the live feed." Amara nods once. Her calm composure remains unshaken. Let them watch. Transparency is part of the correction. Harold's voice trembles when he speaks. "Doctor, I never intended for this to happen. I was following protocol." Amara turns to him, her expression steady but firm. "Protocol is not a shield for arrogance. You were never asked to protect the company from its own shareholders. You were asked to serve with integrity." He tries to respond, but words fail. He looks toward the staff for silent support, but no one meets his gaze. The hierarchy that once favored him has vanished. Amara walks slowly to the reception desk. The sound of her heels on the marble floor carries across the room, steady and deliberate. "Miss Thompson," she says gently, "please open the personnel panel." Ella nods, fingers trembling slightly as she follows the command. The interface flashes. "Staff authorization access." Amara continues, her tone even. "Transfer temporary management to Miss Thompson. The system will recognize my authorization." Harold's head snaps up. "You cannot just—" Amara interrupts without raising her voice. "I can, and I just did." Quote. The computer confirms the change with a soft digital chime. "Access granted. Acting Manager, Ella Thompson." The room reacts in quiet awe. The receptionist covers her mouth, stunned. Harold's shoulders slump, disbelief written across his face. Amara faces Ella. "You stood for honesty when it was uncomfortable. Leadership begins there. From this moment until the board review concludes, you are responsible for maintaining order." Ella blinks, tears of shock and gratitude forming in her eyes. "Yes, doctor, I will not let you down." "I know you will not," Amara replies. She turns back toward Harold. "You will remain on administrative leave until further notice. Your access badge is deactivated effective immediately." Harold opens his mouth as if to protest, but then closes it again. There is nothing left to defend. The scanner at the wall blinks red. His credentials have already expired. Amara glances toward the receptionist. "Please print the new authorization slip and file a copy for corporate." "Yes, doctor." The woman's voice trembles, but this time with respect, not fear. When the document slides from the printer, Amara takes it and places it gently on the counter in front of Harold. "This paper does not humiliate you," she says. "It corrects you. Learn from it." He stares at it, unable to respond. Amara turns to the remaining staff. "Every workplace becomes just when ordinary people refuse to remain silent. You witnessed a system fail, and you helped it recover. Remember that recovery begins with truth." Her tone softens slightly. "None of you are being punished for his mistake. In fact, the board will review your cooperation positively." Ella steps forward, voice shaking but sincere. "Dr. Lewis, thank you. I only did what anyone should do." Amara nods. "That is exactly why you are the right person to lead, because you believe fairness should be ordinary, not exceptional." The atmosphere shifts again. The tension that once dominated the lounge fades into something warmer, something almost reverent. The staff members straighten their shoulders. They are no longer afraid of being seen. Amara collects her laptop sleeve and prepares to leave. As she moves toward the glass doors, Harold calls out softly, "Doctor Lewis, what happens to me now?" She pauses but does not turn around. "That depends on what you choose to do with the silence that follows." He lowers his head. The sound of his badge hitting the counter is soft, final. Amara glances at the lounge clock. 4 minutes remain. She has rebuilt an entire order within the span of 12. Outside, through the glass, a new aircraft taxis across the wet runway. Reflections from the floodlights ripple across the floor like water in motion. The voice of an announcer echoes overhead. "Final boarding call for Skylink Flight 7. Amara watches for a brief second, her expression unreadable. Then she says quietly, "Perfect timing." The world outside keeps moving, but inside that room, every person knows they will never forget the day the system corrected itself without shouting, without chaos, only truth delivered at the right decibel. And when the automatic doors slide open behind her, the silence she leaves behind is not emptiness. It is order. The glass doors close behind her with a soft hiss, sealing the moment inside. The noise of the airport returns announcements, luggage wheels, the murmur of travelers unaware that a quiet revolution just unfolded a few steps away. Amara stands at the edge of the terminal, her reflection mirrored across the polished window. Planes move in slow precision outside, each one carrying people who will never know that, in this small corner of the world, dignity just rewrote procedure. She watches her own reflection for a moment. The woman staring back looks composed, unbothered, powerful. But beneath that reflection lives another image, the 26-year-old version of herself standing at a different airport, holding a boarding pass that no one believed was hers. Back then, she had smiled to keep her composure. She had told herself to stay quiet, to stay small, because smallness was safer. The memory still hurts, not because it was cruel, but because it was ordinary. Amara exhales slowly. "Not anymore," she whispers. The words are not defiance. They are closure. Her phone buzzes again, pulling her back into the present. The screen flashes. "Eli, connected." She answers, her tone calm. "Report." Eli's voice is steady. "Corporate oversight has completed the live session. The review is logged and tagged for training under Skylink's Ethics and Equity Division. Public statement pending your approval." "Good," Amara replies. "Make sure the footage includes Miss Thompson's name. Give her credit. Integrity should not go unseen." "Already done," Eli says. The board chair also asked if you want to make a formal comment. Amara's gaze stays on the glass. The reflection shifts as another plane passes in front of her. No comment, she says quietly. Let the event speak for itself. Words are loudest when they are earned. Eli pauses, then adds, the supervisor, Harold Kent, has been placed on mandatory leave for behavioral retraining. He requested to send you an apology statement. Amara shakes her head slightly. Tell him I do not accept apologies made for reputation. Tell him to apologize to every employee he dismissed in tone, not in record. Understood. Kut. Eli, she adds softly, upload the transcript to the internal newsletter with one title, The Cost of Assumption. Nothing more. Copy that. The call ends. Amara slips the phone back into her coat pocket and stands in silence. The faint reflection of her face overlaps with the movement of the planes outside, a strange symmetry between control and freedom. The reflection becomes her mirror, not of vanity, but of verification. She sees who she is now, and more importantly, who she refused to remain. From the lounge behind her, Ella steps out, her pace tentative. Dr. Lewis? She calls gently. Amara turns, her expression softening. Miss Thompson? Should you not be inside managing? I handed operations to the next shift, Ella says. I just wanted to thank you properly. What happened today changed everything for us. Amara smiles faintly. Change is not magic, Miss Thompson. It is maintenance. You have to keep it running, the same way we maintain a system daily, carefully, without shortcuts. Ella nods. I will. You showed me that authority is not always volume. Sometimes it is consistency. Amara looks at her for a moment, impressed by the clarity in her tone. Keep that mindset, she says. And when someone tells you that you are too quiet to lead, remember what you saw today. I will, Doctor, Ella replies, her voice steady. As Ella walks back toward the lounge, Amara turns once more to the window. The reflection greets her again, no longer divided between past and present, only complete. Her watch ticks softly. 3 minutes remain. She remembers an old lesson she once wrote in a leadership journal years ago but never published. Correction is not punishment. It is proof that we can still evolve. The words feel more relevant now than ever. A flight announcement echoes overhead. Skylink Flight 7 is now boarding. The number catches her attention. It is her flight. She smiles slightly at the timing. Justice and departure, both on schedule. She adjusts the strap of her laptop sleeve, takes one final look at her reflection, and nods as if sealing a silent promise with herself. The promise is simple. Never again will she shrink to fit inside someone else's understanding. Then she walks toward Gate 7, her footsteps calm, steady, unhurried, the sound of a woman who has learned to own every corridor she enters. Inside the glass, her reflection lingers for a second longer before fading into the hum of Heathrow's lights, leaving behind not just a story of power, but a mirror where others might one day see themselves. The corridor to Gate 7 is quiet, lined with soft lighting and muted voices. The chaos of the lounge is now behind her, replaced by the gentle rhythm of boarding announcements and distant footsteps. Amara moves with the same deliberate pace, her laptop sleeve tucked beneath her arm. Her calmness is not relief, it is resolution. Her phone buzzes again. The name on the screen reads Eli, Operations Control. She answers on the second ring. Yes, Eli. Doctor, the recording has gone viral on the internal network. The board chair has already issued a statement commending your intervention. News outlets are requesting comments. Amara's voice remains steady. Let them request. Silence is more educational than explanation. Eli hesitates. Understood. However, there is one more thing. The airline's chief executive officer asked if you wanted him to release a public apology on behalf of the company. Amara stops near the window overlooking the runway. Her reflection stands beside her again. No, she says quietly. Public apologies are performance. Let actions replace them. Increase bias training hours for all management. Add a clause about dignity-based protocol reviews. That will speak louder. Already drafting the policy update, Eli replies. And about Miss Thompson, her promotion was confirmed 5 minutes ago. You will receive the formal notice in your inbox. A small smile touches Amara's lips. Good. She earned it without knowing she was auditioning. Quote. Eli chuckles softly on the other end. Only you would turn a confrontation into a training module and a promotion. Amara's tone holds quiet humor. The goal is never retaliation, Eli. It is restoration. If a lesson ends with fear, it fails. He pauses before responding. You know, Doctor, people will talk about this incident for years. They will call it bold, maybe even ruthless. They will misunderstand it, Amara says simply. Ruthlessness is about ego. Correction is about order. I did not correct him because he insulted me. I corrected him because he represented a pattern that was never questioned. Eli's voice softens. You make it sound easy. It is not easy, she replies. It is necessary. Systems do not collapse from cruelty, they collapse from comfort. For a moment, neither speaks. The sound of boarding announcements fills the pause between them. Then Eli adds, one of the passengers from the lounge just posted online about what happened. He wrote that he had never seen someone hold that much power without ever raising their voice. Amara's tone is calm. That is the kind of virality I can live with. If it teaches even one person that authority can exist without noise, it is worth it. Eli sighs with a mix of pride and respect. Understood, Doctor. Should I clear your next appointment when you land? Yes, she says. I want a clean calendar tomorrow. No meetings, no interviews, just work. Consider it done. Anything else before you board? Amara glances once more toward the runway. The rain has stopped. The ground glistens under the floodlights like polished glass. Yes, she says quietly. Send a message to corporate communications. I want one line published internally before midnight. What line? She takes a breath before answering. Right. Power is not proven in volume. It is proven in the precision of calm, nothing more. Eli repeats it slowly. Power is not proven in volume. It is proven in the precision of calm. Exactly, she says. That will do. They both fall silent for a moment, the sound of distant engines filling the space between them. Then Amara adds, Thank you, Eli. You always execute without needing to be told twice. It is easy to follow someone who leads by example, he replies. She smiles faintly. Then let us keep building systems that learn faster than people forget. Yes, Doctor. The call ends. The phone screen fades to black, reflecting her face once again. This time, the reflection looks at peace not because she won, but because she did not lose herself in the process. A boarding agent approaches politely. Dr. Lewis, we are ready for you now. Amara nods. Thank you. As she walks toward the gate, her phone vibrates once more, a final notification from the internal Skylink network. Integrity protocol complete. Status. Resolved. Quote. She slides the phone back into her pocket and whispers under her breath, Resolution is not revenge. It is rhythm restored. 2 minutes remain. She steps forward, calm, grounded, carrying the same quiet authority that had just reshaped an entire system. And with every step, the world behind her adjusts, learning slowly, painfully, but inevitably to follow. The walkway to the aircraft glows with soft blue light, a tunnel of calm that feels more like transition than travel. The hum of the engines vibrates beneath her feet as Amara steps forward, steady and unhurried. Each step sounds like punctuation, marking the end of something larger than one confrontation. Inside the plane, the flight attendants greet her with polite professionalism, unaware that the woman boarding quietly has just rewritten an entire company's code of conduct. Amara gives a small nod and finds her seat near the window. She places her laptop sleeve on her lap, opens it, and reviews one final message flashing across her phone. Corporate confirms policy update enacted across all terminals, effective immediately. She exhales slowly. Not satisfaction, not relief, just confirmation that the system finally aligned with its own ideals. Outside the window, the rain has stopped completely. The runway shines like a mirror, reflecting the plane's lights, as if the sky itself were watching. Amara leans back in her seat. The quiet hum of the cabin feels almost sacred after the intensity of the last 12 minutes. She closes her eyes briefly, hearing the echoes of the lounge, the disbelief, the apology, the silence that followed her words. They all merge into one lesson: power needs no noise, when truth is self-evident. A flight attendant approaches gently. "Dr. Lewis, would you like something to drink before takeoff?" "Water," she replies, sparkling room temperature. Quote, the attendant smiles, unaware that this simple request mirrors the one that started it all. But this time it carries no tension. The world has shifted, even if only slightly, because one person refused to shrink. Amara opens her notebook, the same one she carries on every flight. The page she turns to is blank, except for a single heading she wrote months ago: Dignity Framework. She begins to write beneath it in slow, deliberate lines. Rule 1. Never confuse humility with silence. Rule 2. When systems forget people, remind them gently but firmly. Rule 3. Dignity does not ask for permission. It walks in. Her handwriting is steady. She tears out the page and folds it once, placing it inside the sleeve pocket where her boarding pass rests. A note for whoever might find it later, a reminder that justice can exist without spectacle. The pilot's voice fills the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Skylink Flight 7. Estimated flight time, 8 hours, 12 minutes. Please, fasten your seatbelts." 8 hours, 12 minutes, time enough to reflect, time enough to plan. As the plane begins to taxi, Amara glances toward the reflection in the window once more. This time, she does not see the younger version of herself or the woman who had to prove her worth in a room that doubted her. She sees continuity, a life built on measured correction, quiet progress, and unshakable self-respect. The aircraft lifts from the ground. The city lights shrink below, turning into a constellation of order. Amara watches until they fade into clouds, her expression thoughtful but serene. In her mind, she rewrites the final line of the internal report Eli sent earlier. It read, "Incident resolved." She changes it silently to, "Lesson recorded." Her phone vibrates once more with a final notification. "Internal memo approved for global publication." She opens it, reading the short quote she had dictated earlier. Power is not proven in volume. It is proven in the precision of calm. She smiles, satisfied that the message is out there now, moving through inboxes and networks faster than any apology could travel. Somewhere, in another airport, another manager will read it and hesitate before assuming who belongs where. That hesitation alone will mean progress. The engines roar gently, steady, and familiar. Amara leans back and closes her eyes as the cabin lights dim. Her voice, soft but resolute, speaks the story's final truth to herself. "They thought silence meant surrender," she murmurs. "It meant calculation." Outside, the plane cuts through the night sky, a white arc against endless black. Below, the world keeps turning, unaware that somewhere above it, a woman is carrying proof that dignity does not need permission, it simply arrives. And as the aircraft climbs higher into the quiet, her reflection fades into the clouds, leaving behind a legacy not of revenge, but of restoration justice delivered at the speed of calm.